Good day, my dear followers. Today is a Labor Day in Canada. We have a day off. We're enjoying last days of summer, although summer is still going on, but we already feel the change in the weather to the cold, first yellow leaves, etc., etc. I just wanted to show you something special, a little bit sad story, not a little bit. This is a very sad story, but I want to show you what I've done. This is the record that I published myself for my own expense on my own label, Alyohin Monarch Record, made in Canada. I printed 50 copies, out of which I only have 2 right now. So all 48 copies are now gone to good hands. Majority of copies have been given away for free, and some copies have been distributed and sold to cash back some money that I spent on printing this record. I did myself a mastering for this record. I've made a composition of this record, all the tracks I assembled from the materials that I found on the internet. I read a short article about the person on this record. And now I will tell you a little bit more about who he was, because he is now long dead. A little bit more than a year ago, he died in a Russian prison. Russia today is a completely a terrorist state that kills not only people abroad, but also inside of the country. So inside of the country, all the people stay quiet and silent about what's going on. They pretend that nothing happens, but some people who decide to break silence may get jailed and even get killed, like that guy. He was killed in the Russian prison in July of 2024 because of his anti-war activism. And this is how he got known to the public, although he was a very talented person. Pavel Kouchnir, a classical pianist, a writer and a political activist, lived a life defined by his unwavering commitment to artistic integrity and human freedom. He never divided the freedom of the person from the music that he was playing. Born in Tambov, Russia in 1984, Kouchnir was a musical prodigy from a young age. His entire family were serious musicians, classical music musicians. They were even talking their own languages. For example, like how many seasons in a year, they would just start thinking about how many Tchaikovsky really wrote seasons. So he started displaying his extraordinary talent for the piano at a very early age. His musical journey led him to the prestigious Tchaikovsky Conservatory in Moscow, which he graduated in 2007. And he could have stayed in the capital in Moscow. He lived another like 5-7 years in Moscow after that. And he had all the prospects to stay there and have a really great career as a very talented musician. But he refused all that because he believed that the art has to be free, and he often preferred to work as a soloist and accompanist in a smaller regional philharmonics away from the capital. So from Moscow he moved to Kursk Conservatory. After that he went to Kurgan Conservatory, that's in Siberia. And then after that he even moved to the far east near Vladivostok. There is a city called Birobidzhan. Beyond his musical pursuits, Kouchnir was a man of deep convictions, and he was a very quiet and persistent dissident, the person who was protesting about any unfairness, any injustice. He was protesting against the annexion of Crimea in 2014. He was distributing the anti-war leaflets in his hometown. His activism intensified following the 2022 invasion of Russians into Ukraine. That's when he started using his small YouTube channel to express his views, where he criticized He criticized the Russian government. He was calling Putin a dickhead and a fucking moron, although his channel by then had only 5 subscribers, out of which 2 of them were KGB subscribers who were following him. They were trying to track him down, and one day he got arrested. He was arrested in May of 2024, and 2 months later, he died in prison. During his final days in prison, he went on a hunger strike. He was starving without water and food for several days, and that's what they say was the cause of death. But some people who were attending the funeral, they said that his face was all beaten up, and some put a very ugly makeup on his face just to protect all the damages that were done to his face in prison. Let's put it this way, that the cause of death is unknown, and it will never be known because he was very quickly cremated. After his death, authorities contacted his family, and they were trying to hide the fact of his death. They were trying everything to be quiet and not to surface anywhere. But he had a friend in Germany, a girl, who found out about his death and contacted some of the human rights activists in Germany that started spreading this story to the public. And very soon the world got to know his name, Pavel Kouchnir, a talented pianist who got killed in a Russian prison. Today, Russia goes back to where it was for a long time during the Soviet years. I myself was born in Soviet Union, and I remember how Soviet Union was and how it was crashing in 1991. I was a teenager, but it is very sad to see how the country goes back to where it was, which really goes to the North Korea style of life. So the death of Pavel Kouchnir brought his life to the international attention. Some people started collecting all the videos and audios that he done during his lifetime. And when I decided to come up with this record, I had to go to the internet and find some decently recorded soundtracks that he recorded himself. He's never entered a studio to professionally record his music. He was videotaped, he was recorded on a mobile devices when he was performing in front of the public and at conservatory. At the beginning of 2023, he escaped from the central Russia and he moved to the very far east, the place called Birobidzhan. Birobidzhan is an autonomous territory in Russia where there are some Jews live. That came from the Stalin's era, where Stalin decided to send many Jewish families to that area. And Pavel Kouchnir was also from the Jewish family, Russian Jewish family. So he was not religious in any way, and his choice was Birobidzhan not because there were some Jewish people living in, and he was looking for the community, but he was trying to escape from the central cities of Russia, not to be involved in all the political and pro-war activism. Because if you are a person of the culture, and if you participate in the public concerts, then all the public events in Russia today are trying to be done in a political way. So if you're playing Chopin, if you're playing Tchaikovsky, you're also playing Tchaikovsky to support war against Ukraine and that kind of bullshit. So that's why he escaped away to Birobidzhan. And let me talk a little bit about the tracks on this record. They are very interesting. I hate myself classical music, but this music is very interesting. Being a classical pianist, he was a big fan of the rock music. His favorite performer was Kurt Cobain, and his favorite record was the first album of Nirvana. And many people who listen to his recordings, who know more about classical music than me, they note that he's playing classical music in a very different way from any other. He's putting the pumping rock rhythm in classical compositions that he was playing. He was mixing together two passions, the passion to the rock music and the passion to classical music. This record is also interesting that it doesn't consist of just the musical tracks. The last project that Pavel Kouchnir did when he was at Pyramidjan, he was an author of the series of programs, radio programs called Chopin Mazurkas. Chopin was one of the most favorite Pavel Kouchnir composers. He wrote 50 mazurkas during his lifetime, and Pavel Kouchnir decided to make a radio program once a week. He was familiarizing his audience, the audience of the radio show, with one mazurka in each program, informing his audience with everything that he knew about this mazurka. He was also talking about today's life, and in some of the programs he was trying to say that we guys are not doing right in this country. He was talking about that in a very safe way, right? But on the YouTube channel, when he organized, he was absolutely uncompromisable. In a YouTube channel, and he didn't choose words. He was using lots of the coarse language in that channel. He was like a completely different person than the one that is in conservatory. So what I decided to put on this record is I decided to put the tracks together from the YouTube channel where he's using the coarse language with anti-war speeches and Chopin's mazurka that are going in between of these anti-war speeches. This became kind of the anti-war record. The first track is called I'm Against the War in Ukraine, I'm Against the fucking Putin. Then he plays a couple of mazurkas, then he talks about what he expects from Russian people to do today, that they should protest, that they should say no to what is going on today. He used his small YouTube channel to express his views, where he criticized the Russian government and the war against Ukraine. These videos in which he referred to Putin's Russia as a fascist state and condemned the Bucha massacre as a disgrace to the Russian homeland, untimely led to his arrest in May of 2024 on charges of inciting the terrorist activity. And that's why the tracks in this record are so important, because that's why he got jailed, that's why he got killed. That's why he got killed, despite that he was just to be free, who wanted to live in the country of freedom, who wanted to make an art. Before his death, nobody knew who Pavel Kouchnir was. And now many people know about him. And this is my small contribution in the legacy that he left after himself. None of the musicians that we remember were just musicians. John Lennon, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, they were much more than musicians. And they were all the fighters for the justice. That's what I think. I'm very glad that the record was printed of the very high quality. The sound quality of this record is much higher than I expected, and I'm very proud of the project that I initiated this year. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.